Offered by Councilmember Metzner, followed by the pledge to the flag, so please stand as you are able.
May I first suggest that we have a moment of silence for those that have been injured and lost their lives overseas today. Today may we be open to others' ideas and beliefs, respectful of our differences, not threatened by them. May we grow in understanding of our own motives, knowing that people often act out of their own fears. May we be a force for replacing fear with insight, helping us all to be patient and kind as we talk. Strength, real strength, can always find compromise. Working together, may we find a common ground. Enable us to move forward with a shared purpose. May we see what is truly important and unites us, focusing on that to banish roadblocks of ego and fear. Today, may we be open to others' ideas and beliefs. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Just a couple of announcements. We are following the rules of procedure adopted September 24th, 2013. Use of cell phones during meetings is restricted. All correspondence for distribution to elected officials should be provided to the city clerk and should include a copy for the clerk for the official record. And just to review our meeting schedule for April again, we are having work sessions on Tuesday the 5th, 12th, and 19th, all of which will begin at 4 p.m. Our regular session next month will be at 7 p.m. on Tuesday the 19th, and there will be no meeting on primary election day the 26th. At this time, we will have appointments. We have four folks listed who are being nominated for the Artist Selection Committee for the Art Trail, and at this time, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move approval for appointment to the Hagerstown Cultural Trail the following individuals: Mary Ann Burke, Executive Director of Washington County Arts Council; Rebecca Massey Lane, Washington County Museum of Fine Arts; Aaron Patenaris, Local Architect and Main Street Group Leader; Leslie Whaley, Founding Committee Member of Downtown Movement and artist.
Second.
I have a motion made by Mr. Metzner, second by Mr. Munson. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries and the appointments are approved. We have several guests here with us tonight. One that is not on the agenda we'll do first, and that is that the Maryland International Film Festival is coming to town, and I'm sure, hopefully, people know about it. Tom Reiford, you are the chair of the Maryland International Film Festival, is that right?
Mayor and President.
President, thank you for being here, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
And
thank you, Council, for allowing me to be here. I appreciate it sincerely.
Good seeing you, Tom.
We're excited that the film festival will be held once again in Center City, Hagerstown, and using all the great arts and entertainment venues here. You want to tell us a little more about what we can look forward to?
Would I love to tell you more? It's a wonderful event. It opens up on April the 1st with opening night at the Maryland Theater. We have a great film. I know that we have several stars coming. I was just going through the list of the different nations of filmmakers who are coming. Get this list: Japan, Nepal, Ireland, England, Scotland, Switzerland, Spain, Korea coming all the way. We also have a lot of filmmakers from Canada and from California. Over 140 different films are being shown over the 3 days and 5 venues in downtown Hagerstown. It's an incredible film festival this year. More than 50 films are sending representatives to this film festival. 5 years ago, we never dreamed it would be this big, and it is incredible. And I thank the city of Hagerstown for being a loyal partner and supporter of this great event. So hats off to you, Mr. Mayor, and to the council.
Well, thank you to all the volunteers of the Film Festival Committee who make it happen. I'm going to present to you a certificate of special recognition commemorating the 2016 Maryland International Film Festival here in Hagerstown. Whereas the Maryland International Film Festival Hagerstown brings positive publicity, awareness, and enhanced recognition to Hagerstown and Washington County. And whereas the Maryland International Film Festival in Hagerstown this year had over 350 submissions and has officially selected over 140 films to be shown in 5 venues in downtown Hagerstown. And whereas filmmakers from all over the world, including, we'll see if Tom got them all here, including Korea, Nepal, Switzerland, Scotland, England, Ireland, Germany, Saudi Arabia, Spain, Japan, Canada, Italy, Australia, Brazil, Norway, and across the United States are coming to Hagerstown for this year's festival. And whereas more than 50 films will have filmmaker representation at this year's festival, and whereas the Maryland International Film Festival Hagerstown partners with several local organizations, businesses, and individuals, and major sponsors include the City of Hagerstown, the Hagerstown Washington County Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Washington County Government Office of Grant Management, the Nora Roberts Foundation, AmVets, Horizon Goodwill Incorporated, the Wells House, and the Maryland Film Office. Lots of great partners there. Whereas the film festival creates significant economic impact at local restaurants, bars, hotels, and other businesses. And whereas this year marks the 5th year of the annual Maryland International Film Festival in Hagerstown, this ongoing success of growth and showcasing the independent filmmaker and of giving back to the community is very welcome for Hagerstown and Washington County. Now, therefore, I, Dave Geisberts, the mayor of the city of Hagerstown, Maryland, do hereby recognize the Maryland International Film Festival, Hagerstown, for its positive impact on Hagerstown and the surrounding region. In celebration of this 5th year of the film festival, the city of Hagerstown is declaring April 1st through 3rd as Maryland International Film Festival and Hagerstown Days. Wow. On behalf of the City Council, I urge all citizens to participate in this year's film festival. So thanks so much, Tom. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely appreciate this. Thank you very, very much. All right.
Thank you, Tom.
We'll see you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you all. Okay, sorry. At this time, I want to bring up all the folks who are here on behalf of the Week of the Young Child. Please come on up. We have several organizations that are critical in the lives of our young people here in Hagerstown and Washington County. And so what I will do is I'll pass the microphone down and let you introduce yourselves, and then I will read our proclamation.
I am Terry Gwizdala. I am the president of the Western Maryland chapter of the Maryland Association for the Education of Young Children.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Kearns. I'm the chair for the ECAC, and I'm also the coordinator for the Judy Center in Washington County.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Perez. I'm the professional development manager for Apples for Children.
I'm Melissa Brown, and I am the Early Childhood Mental Health Project Manager with Apples for Children.
Hi, Mike Piercy, Director of the Washington County Department of Social Services.
And this is, we're coming up soon, will be the Week of the Young Child, so we're here tonight to make sure everybody is aware of that and all the issues that are involved in the life of young children. So this is a proclamation declaring the Week of the Young Child, April 10th through 16th, 2016. Whereas teachers and others who make a difference in the lives of young children in Hagerstown deserve thanks and recognition. And whereas the Maryland Association for the Education of Young Children, the Western Maryland chapter, and other local organizations in conjunction with National Association for the Education of Young Children are celebrating the Week of the Young Child from April 10th through 16th, 2016. And whereas these organizations are working to enhance early learning opportunities, including early literacy programs that are crucial to growth and development of young children, and to build a strong future for our city and state. And whereas citizens are encouraged to recognize and support the people, programs, and policies that are committed to early childhood education and to do their part to invest in the future of our young people. Now, therefore, I, David Geisberts, the mayor of the city of Hagerstown, Maryland, do hereby proclaim April 10th through 16th, 2016 as the Week of the Young Child, and encourage all citizens to join in this observance. So I want to give you sincere thanks for all the work that your various organizations do in the community for all of our young people. And does anyone else have anything they want to add? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much. Here. Next on the agenda is citizen comments. Looks like we have at least a couple folks signing up here.
Not the first one.
Oh, the first one is no, okay. Next up on the list is Mr. Marvin Lohr. Mr. Lohr, I would like to remind folks that citizen comments are limited to 5 minutes per individual. Meetings are televised and recorded. Your comments will be on air, on tape, and on YouTube. Mr. Lohr, go ahead and state your name and address for the record,
I can
please.
do that in 5.
Okay, great.
My name's
Thanks.
Marvin Lohr. I live in Hagerstown, and I own some property around town. When I was 57 years old, I came up here from Frederick to invest in some property. And now I'm 75 years old, and downtown hadn't moved much. And I'm afraid I won't be here by the time you guys get around to it, so. The trail and the arts and the pop-up stuff is all nice things to get people down here and improve people come downtown. But there are 9 buildings that can be used for offices, and some of them pretty nice. So instead of getting 1,000 people downtown every once in a while, why not have 1,000 people better downtown every day, every working day? You could advertise in the Washington, D.C. area to get businesses up here, offices, and they could save enough money. They could still keep a small office down in the D.C. area if they needed it, but they would save hundreds of thousands of dollars in rent alone. They could also, their employees could get a much nicer house up here for the money they pay for down there. But you have to put a packet together and advertise. And I was laid up this winter, and I got on my laptop, and I started comparing different things. The information's out there on the computer, but nothing is together. You have to search all different places. So if you put a packet together, a simple packet they could look at and understand, and tell them where to go if they wanted detail, I would think it would work. I have a couple printouts here. 2 office buildings in this downtown here, and 2 houses, one in Hagerstown and one in Montgomery County. Now, the ones in Montgomery County, one is $319,000, and the one in Hagerstown is $315. Well, a world of difference. So I'll pass these out, and that's it.
Thank you,
But I'll
Mr.
be
Lohr.
back.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a comment?
Please do.
You know, that's a good idea. That idea has merit, and I think we ought to look into it. As a matter of fact, the lady who heads the film office, the one that was just being talked about a little while ago, is one of those people who moved her office from Washington, D.C. up here. So it has some precedent. As a matter of fact, the man who developed the 20 Grand building, his name is Mike Fitzgerald.
Yeah, he has one of the buildings I have on there.
Well, that building is full. And he went, and the reason it's full is because he went to Frederick and he knocked on doors down there, business doors, and he encouraged them to come to Washington County. And they were glad to come to Washington County. So I think your idea, you're onto something, and we need to seriously explore it.
And I have some ideas about how to get the city cleaner and using the residents more than just the city trying to do it. My 2 buildings downtown here, I'm forever picking up trash. I mean, forever.
Yeah, well, that's,
So I got some ideas on that, and I think you guys also need to clarify your trash can proposals or ordinance, whatever's coming up. Because I don't think it's gonna work for all the residential places. It's just no place to put some of these trash cans. But it could be worked out somehow or another.
Well, we are working on that. We're approving a policy tonight that will help. And I agree, public education on the trash issue and getting people engaged is important.
I was working out of Philadelphia for a while, and they were running a promo or public service thing about picking trash up and everything. And I was working over in Germany, and they were running a similar thing. And I tell you, it worked much better in Germany than it did in Philadelphia. But I think it could be done with a few incentives.
Just one more note, you mentioned the website, and I did want to just mention that the whole city website is in the process of being reorganized and redone. It's going to be much better, more mobile friendly. So we're in the process of reorganizing that too,
Okay.
because you mentioned having to go to several places and not having things consolidated. So that's also being worked on.
Okay, and I tell you, I have other ideas about downtown to help it, and it'd be cheap. You're not gonna be spending millions of dollars, you'd be spending a few $1,000s at most. And the trash downtown, another thing, I had businesses in Frederick. Downtown Frederick, they picked up trash 5 days, nights a week. And they had special trucks to pick, and they issued special trash cans, just so it could be quicker to pick the trash up.
Well, keep in
So-
touch.
Give me a call anytime. I'd be more than glad to talk to him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next person to sign up is Mr. Winslow Wheeler.
Thank you. My name is Winslow Wheeler. I live on South Prospect Street. I'm here to address the trash code legislation you're going to enact tonight. I'll be very brief. First, I want to express the thanks of myself and many in our street to Kathy Marr, who's worked with us and listened to us in the rewrite of the trash code. There's been lots of controversies, but she's always been willing to listen to us. Her door has always been open figuratively for us to talk to her and her staff. And we sincerely appreciate that. She's a real professional, and I want to get it on the record that on a difficult issue where there's lots of different opinions, she's been very effective to work with. Most importantly, I want to say that the legislation you're going to pass tonight is a stage. The goal is to get the trash off the streets of this city.
You're right.
We haven't gotten there yet. Kathy Marr and her staff have been talking to property owners. There's a couple on our street that have moved their trash one place to another. There are several who haven't. We understand there's a process going on, and next month enforcement will begin, and we look forward to that. It's been a long, tough haul for our neighborhood to try to get the improvement that we've been seeking, both for our streets and for the city. And we will be very happy when the trash is gone, and we look forward to your supporting the city staff to make sure that happens. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Winslow. Is there anyone who did not sign up who wishes to speak? All right. Moving on to city administrator's comments.
I just wanted to announce that this Friday, city offices are closed in observance of Good Friday. But even with that, there will be no change to the trash collection. And that is all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to mayor and council comments. I'll start on my left and work my way down, starting with Ms. Nye.
No comments.
Mr. Munson?
Yes, Mayor. Last Saturday, the mayor and I attended, along with some other people, economic development people, staff people, and just people coming in as customers, attended the grand opening of the Anagata Delights Saturday morning. The Anagata Delights is a new restaurant in Hagerstown, located on the corner of Franklin and Locust, and we had a good time. They had a steel band there, and
Sorry, I missed it.
the music was great, and the food's great, and it's a very convenient place to go, and it's brand-new business in Hagerstown, and I'm sure they can use all the customers they can get, so it was fun.
I missed it, I'm sorry.
But I want to pick up on the comments of the last two gentlemen who spoke in connection with that. When you looked out the window of the restaurant, the Anagata Delight Restaurant, incidentally, it's named for an island in the Caribbean, there's a really nice building across the street. The local developer, his name is Ken Barry, is redeveloping. And it's a great building. But in the street itself, there was some god-awful trash laying along the curb. It was very, Penny, it was very distressing and very distracting.
You don't know how distressed I was on
I
Sunday.
do. And that really took away a little bit from the event, because there was no excuse for that. We do have to find some way to deal with that problem and try to keep our gutters and our sidewalks cleaner. We have letters to the editor week after week complaining about that. And I know that the people in the city have done everything they can do about it. We have our street cleaners out working and working and working, but somehow we've got to figure out how to do a better job. I think the more attractive downtown is, the more attractive the neighborhoods are, the more people who are going to come and see us as tourists.
And Valerie, could you check, because I'm pretty sure they stopped the street sweepers in the winter, but maybe you could ask Eric to send us the regular street sweeping schedule,
Okay.
just for council's information. Mr. Metzner.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have much tonight. Sometimes citizen comments are a very positive thing, and sometimes you sit up and scratch your head. I'd really like to thank Mr. Lohr and Winslow for their comments tonight. I don't think Mr. Lohr and I have really officially ever met formally, but it is good to hear positive things and thoughts of how to get something done instead of just coming in and telling us what the problem is with never having a solution. And Winslow, who I've known for many years now and have a great deal of respect for, and he won't like me saying this, but go ahead and Google Winslow Wheeler, because if you do, you will be more than a little bit impressed. And as much as everything else, the way I met Winslow was through the Bicycle Advisory Committee, which he was a very active member for many years, and was kind enough to transport me home the day that I had my massive fall in the city park on our bikes. And so I say all that because when I hear Winslow complimenting staff and actually talking positive about legislation, there's few people, I think, in the state, if not the East Coast, that know more about legislation than Winslow Wheeler. It's impressive, and it is taken as a great compliment for staff. And thank you, Winslow, for also coming in to say good things after we finally, after this time, are getting there. And I have to concur. You, my fellow council members have finally gotten me over. I won't name the places because I don't want to point out businesses that it's not their fault, but boy, driving home the other day, the streets were just completely full of trash. The cigarettes, unfortunately, people who smoke cigarettes believe that cigarette butts are not trash. They're something to be thrown in the street. And it really has gotten rather bad. And of course, in our neighborhood, I don't know if it was a set out or if people just decided that they were doing spring cleaning and figuring that the trash people were going to pick up beds and everything else. I'm just not sure. But that got taken care of by somebody. But yes, it is a problem, and we need to address it.
Thanks. And on your advice, I did Google Mr. Winslow Wheeler, and he actually has his own Wikipedia page. That's pretty cool.
I believe
Mr.
Mr. Wheeler is the only staff member in history to be a staff member for both a Republican and a Democratic senator at the same time. First and only person ever to do it.
Excellent. Mr. Brubaker?
On that bipartisan note, at the risk of being repetitive, I'll second Mr. Lower's recommendations. Ever since I've been on the council, having spent 30 years in the Rockville area, I've thought that there would be residue and businesses we could attract up here. 2008, none of these are excuses. We need to keep trying. We did have an RFP out with free land for developers right in the middle of downtown, and we did not get a taker. The office market, I know, because I still follow things down there, the office market is extremely soft in the metropolitan area. That said, I still think the right person's gonna go, wow, they're gonna have a hallelujah moment and figure all the advantages that I found when I came up here. This area has a lot of advantages. It's often our own citizens that don't realize them. So I commend you for your recommendation, and I know staff has worked along those lines, and I know that when I was on the County Economic Development Commission, I brought that up for 6 years, but we still haven't caught on down there, and I think we can. Yes, sir. I mean, if it's okay with you.
The square footage is $24 to $30 in New Washington area, easy. Up here, you can get it for 8 to 15.
Right.
And that's a hell of a saving, but you need a salesperson to go down there.
Right.
I mean, go make an appointment and go talk to the people. So, and the commute time, you can sell them on the commute time. 21 minutes up here, average. I don't know what it is down in DC, but it's much longer.
Right.
One other point. I told you about the housing, commute. Shoot,
Well,
just call me Governor, whatever, Texas there. I can't think of the one.
our email is on the website, and I think we'd be glad to hear any ideas.
I'm an
We
in-person
appreciate it.
type guy. I'm not too much of the email thing.
Okay.
My spelling's not that
Thank
good.
you. I'm glad to hear I'm not the only one. Thank you very much. I will be calling you by phone, okay?
Penny, I should have excluded
I
you when
have
I
fought
said
this
that.
battle,
I
Mr.
apologize.
Lure. I have fought it and fought it. And you know what? Maybe now somebody will listen.
I was never much of spelling.
Well, thank you,
again.
sir.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Brubaker?
Yes, I want to thank Councilmember Metzner for his invocation. I think it expressed the correct spirit of the disturbing events today and expressed my solidarity with the people that were affected by the events of the day directly.
Thanks. Mr. Alshire?
A couple of things. The first is, I noticed, this is for Rodney, there is one section of sidewalk on the new path at Park Circle where it's a section that has a little lip that's painted red. I'm assuming, it almost looks like a mistake. It has created a trip hazard. It's where the one level is about 3 inches on an angle, different than the other section of sidewalk there that goes toward the railroad track on the east side. Is there an intent to go back and fix that?
If it's the location that I think it is, it's where the new trail, the
Yes.
cultural trail will tie into
Will tie
it.
in.
So I think the staff just painted it, but we could put some asphalt or something there temporarily until where the trail would go in there later this summer.
Yeah,
That's not a problem.
okay.
I'll take care of it.
That's right.
The other item is, after I made my comments about the one tavern at the meeting last week, I was surprised there's a number of folks that actually live in that area, not the least of which are the folks from Potomac Towers, who hear the music. I mean, like I said, you literally hear it from about a block and a half away, and it's sort of like, you know, the party's outside rather than inside some evenings. And so I don't know what rules we have on that. You know, I know, you go by the hookah lounge, and whether you like them or not, there isn't much noise coming out of the place, and they keep the door open. So sometimes it's a fear, but in this particular case, it's the combination of the door open and the significant volume of individuals outside and the music. I think that's the impact. I'm certainly not trying to, put anybody out of business, but I think that there should be some level of,
More control.
respect, to the broader area. Because I think when folks get down there, they think, oh, this is downtown, it's mostly commercial offices, and, nobody's down here, but there are quite a lot of folks that live right in that area and it's right near where we tore the two structures down last year. The other item that I had, and Lou mentioned it about the set out in his neighborhood, that actually was on Facebook, and there were a surprising number of comments. I think what the most surprising thing was, though, was I'm going to venture that 80% of the comments of the person or toward the person that expressed some concern were in a manner to say, it's none of your business, leave it alone, who cares, go move it yourself. And I guess I was a little bit surprised by that being the thought process, of a majority expression than some actual corrective action being the thought process. So I found that a little bit odd. That's all I have.
Okay. Well, I do want to also acknowledge, as Councilmember Munson alluded to, the grand opening of the Anegada Delights Caribbean Food Restaurant. It's a great example of a partnership between the city and the county. Their My Biz Works program, or My Biz Idea program, was a way that they had the owners of the company had a catering business in Howard County out of their home. They were looking for a commercial kitchen. They ended up finding one in Williamsport to use on a temporary basis until they could move into their location here downtown. And they still do most of their catering down the road, but are very pleased to be in their location here in Hagerstown, and we wish them all the success in the world. I'm sorry?
Their address.
Oh, their address is...
The old Cromer store for those.
Yeah, the
who've been
old
around for a
Cromer
long
store,
time.
or the old Vince's Pizza, right on the corner of East Franklin and Locust Street. They even have a little parking lot there next
Right
to their
across
shop.
from the Otterbein Church.
There you go. So we wish them all the success in the world. Right after that, I was able to attend a groundbreaking ceremony for a new Habitat for Humanity house, and just wanted to give them a shout out for all the great work that they do, not only building new homes for people who need them and creating homeowners, but also for the work that they're doing in the city, rehabbing existing homes and, reducing blight in some of the instances and revitalizing those properties for home ownership. So I want to give them a nod of gratitude as well. And that is it for me as far as comments. So at this time, we'll move on to the minutes.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for approval of minutes as presented for the mayor and council meetings held on February 9, February 16, and February 23, all 2016.
Second.
I have a motion made by Mr. Metzner, second by Mr. Munson. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it, the minutes are approved. The next item is the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Munson and seconded by Mr. Metzner. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries and the consent agenda is approved. Under unfinished business, item A is the approval of an ordinance relinquishing rights to an alley parallel to East Franklin and Liberty Street.
Mayor, hereby move for approval of an ordinance making a determination that certain property is no longer needed for a public purpose, and authorizing conveyance of a portion of the property to the adjoining property owners, Robert F. Knode and Patsy Jake.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Brubaker, seconded by Mr. Metzner. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries and ordinance is approved. Item B is the approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 117, Recycling and Refuse Collection of the City Code.
Mr. Mayor, hereby move the mayor and city council approve an ordinance to amend Chapter 117, Recycling and Refuse Collection of the Code of the City of Hagerstown. These amendments modify the provisions regarding storage and set out of recycling and refuse in order to provide additional protections for our neighborhoods and downtown from blight and nuisance conditions. Changes include, number 1, requiring outdoor storage of recycling and refuse in receptacles and containers with sealing lids. Number 2, requiring set of recycling and refuse in the downtown area in receptacles and containers with sealing lids. Number 3, requiring properties with 4 or more dwelling units to designate 1 storage area for recycling and refuse receptacles and containers. And number 4, requiring storage of recycling and refuse receptacles, containers out of front yards, front porches, public rights-of-way, and out of view of South Prospect Street unless special circumstances exist to warrant alternative locations. A policy on acceptable special circumstances for alternative locations for storage of recycling and refuse receptacles and containers shall be approved by the mayor and city council under separate motion and prior to the effective date of this ordinance.
Second.
Have a motion made by Mr. Alshire, seconded by Mr. Brubaker. Any discussion?
The only thing that I want whoever is listening out there, because it was brought to my attention, what about yard waste? All right, yard waste, from what I'm being told, is going to be the same as what it has been in the past. It will be either put in the trash bags that you buy at the stores, which are paper, not plastic. And if there are leaves and other trash items, they can be placed in a trash can, but I'm assuming it does not require a lid. So, you know, this was brought to my attention, and it was like, oh, okay, here we go.
I don't think we do require a lid. We also have stickers in our office that if you have a
Correct.
container that you like to use week in,
Right.
week out for yard waste,
Yeah.
call us at extension 106 and we'll get you a sticker to put on that container. It says
Yeah.
yard waste.
But everybody needs to know this, you know, that the yard waste will stay the same.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Item C is approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 64-8 Property Maintenance Code, Section 202.
I hereby move the mayor and city council approve an ordinance to amend Chapter 64-8 Property Maintenance Code, Section 202, General Definition of the Code of the City of Hagerstown. These amendments modify the definition of approved receptacle and container refuse cans to be consistent with the definition in Chapter 117, Recycling and Refuse Collection. The amendment to both chapters of the code regarding recycling and refuse storage and set out are intended to provide additional protections for our neighborhoods and downtown from blight and nuisance conditions.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Alshire, seconded by Ms. Nye. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Item D, under unfinished business, is the approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 64-8 Property Maintenance Code, Section 307.
Mr. Mayor, I move the mayor and city council approve an ordinance to amend Chapter 64-8 Property Maintenance Code, Section 307, Rubbish and Garbage of the Code of the City of Hagerstown. These amendments modify several subsections regarding disposal of rubbish and garbage and recycling, and regarding receptacles and containers to be consistent with provisions in Chapter 117, Recycling and Refuse Collection. The amendment to both chapters of the code regarding recycling and refuse storage and set out are intended to provide additional protections for our neighborhoods and downtown from blight and nuisance conditions.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Alshire, seconded by Ms. Nye. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Under new business, item A is the approval of a resolution for a 2016 summer play camp with the Hagerstown YMCA.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for the approval of a resolution to authorize the execution of a contract with the Hagerstown YMCA to conduct summer play camps for the 2016 season from June the 20th, 2016 through August the 12th, 2016 at Helene Park and Pangbourne Park. The camps will each serve approximately 60 youth per day at a total cost of $32,343. Funding is from the Parks and Recreation operating budget.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Nye, seconded by Mr. Munson. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries and the resolution is approved. Item B is the approval of a resolution for a play camp with Girls, Inc.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for the approval of a resolution to authorize the execution of a contract with Girls Incorporated of Washington County to conduct a summer play camp for the 2016 season from June 13th, 2016 through August 5th, 2016 at Girls Incorporated. The camp will serve approximately 80 to 100 youth per day at a cost of $15,000. Funding is from the Parks and Recreation operating budget.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Nye, seconded by Mr. Munson. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries and the resolution is approved. Item C is the approval of a resolution for summer play camp with the Robert W. Johnson Community Center.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for the approval of a resolution to authorize the execution of a contract with the Robert W. Johnson Community Center Incorporated to operate a summer play camp for the 2016 season for June 20th, 2016 through August 12th, 2016 at Wheaton Park. The camp will serve approximately 80 youths per day at the cost of $25,600. Funding is from the Parks and Recreation operating budget.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Nye and seconded by Mr. Munson. Any discussion?
I want the public to know that these are very important to the youths that do go to these camps. And looking at the amount of money, I know that things are very tight and will become even more tight. But this is something that we at least can provide for the kids that really do need that here in this town.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries and the resolution is approved. Item D is the approval of a resolution, a residential lease for 38 North Potomac Street, Apartment 2.
Mayor, hereby move the mayor and city council approve the attached resolution authorizing the execution of a residential lease agreement at the city of Hagerstown property located at 38 North Potomac Street, Hagerstown, Maryland. Lease will be between the city of Hagerstown and Clayton Lehman. Shall be in effect from April 1st, 2016 to March 31st, 2017.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Brubaker, seconded by Mr. Metzner. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries and the resolution is approved. Item E is the approval of a resolution for a lease at 38 North Potomac Street, Apartment 3.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move that the mayor and city council approve the attached resolution authorizing the execution of a residential lease agreement at the city of Hagerstown property located at 38 North Potomac Street in Hagerstown. Lease will be between the city of Hagerstown and Ian Job and shall be in effect from April 1st, 2016 to March 31st, 2017.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Brubaker, seconded by Mr. Munson, or I'm sorry, by Mr. Metzner. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries and the resolution is approved. Item F is the approval of a resolution authorizing the sale of 278 South Prospect Street for homeownership as part of the City Center Plan Catalytic Project Number 8.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for the mayor and city council to approve a resolution authorizing the sale of property located at 278 South Prospect Street for the city's homeownership program. The property will be conveyed to Piotr Zielinski and Delia Zielinski for a sale price of $75,000. The sale will be in accordance with all terms and conditions of the attached, or the handed-out contract, actually.
Second.
Mr. Mayor, I would...
Yes, sir.
Before we adopt this, I would just like to congratulate our staff. Getting this sale to this point has been a great deal of work. Our staff has done an outstanding job, and soon this house will be occupied, and it will be a fine example of Hagerstown moving in to help the neighborhood, and then when the time is right, Hagerstown moving out to let private party take over.
Absolutely. I think I still need a second on the motion.
I second it.
Okay, great.
Mr. Mayor, I would note
Thank you.
that, a la Mr. Lohr, if I'm correct, these folks are relocating from Montgomery County.
Right.
So it's an example of just what you were talking about.
And the sale price will revolve to other property improvement. If I recall that correctly?
I have a comment
Go ahead.
because homeownership is so important and necessary to this city that I just hope that this program will now be able to feed a little bit more as bringing them in. But for those who are becoming the homeowners, that I pray to God that they stay here, that they do not come in and only stay so long and then decide to flip it and then we're right back to square one. I just wish that there was a way that we had it, that these homes would have to stay homeownership. Unfortunately, we don't. That's it.
Any other discussion?
I just want to make the comment so that the public knows this, that this program is designed in such a way that under the conditions of the program, the homeowner has to stay for at least 5 years.
Any other discussion?
Since everybody's making comment, I'll make one too.
Go ahead.
Staff has come to us probably 3 or 4 times in the last 3 months, identifying what I would say are these various number of programs that are now have funding exhausted. When you have these types of programs that we've identified, whether it be for full purchase and resale, whether it be for down payment or rehab assistance for homeownership, or whether it be for the rental incentive programs, I would only say that I think we need to find a way, this body needs to find a way, given the level of success and demand that we're seeing these programs have, to not run out of funding. I'm getting a house from vacant to reoccupied with a homeowner that cares about it is critical to the stability of the neighborhood, and you know, getting an individual that takes some pride in being able to achieve that incentive for rental. I just think that as we start to deliberate on budget here, that be one of the mechanisms we look at not running short on.
Any other discussion? Thank you, everyone. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries and the resolution is approved. Item G is the approval of a resolution, a second amendment to the long-term user agreement with the Hagerstown Fairgrounds Softball Association.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for the approval of a resolution to accept the second amendment to the user agreement with the Hagerstown Fairgrounds Softball Association to allow those groups to play until 11 p.m. on Friday nights. The current user agreement requires all events to be completed by 10 o'clock. The HFSA will be responsible for locking the gates and restrooms on those nights.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Metzner, seconded by Mr. Munson. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries and the resolution is approved. Item H is the approval of a grant agreement for the Maryland Bikeways Grant with the Maryland Department of Transportation.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move to authorize the city to enter into a grant agreement for a Maryland Bikeways grant with the Maryland Department of Transportation. The grant is $90,000 and has no cash match and will continue bicycling-related improvements in the city. The grant will be used for the items outlined on the attached work plan.
Second.
Have a motion made by Mr. Metzner, seconded by Mr. Brubaker. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to compliment both staff, Rodney and his staff, and the Bicycle Advisory Committee. Done a lot of work and continues to do an immense amount of work to bring these grants to the town. And I already will start with the criticism that I know we'll hear as we start doing biking improvements in town of, geez, you don't have anything else to spend your money on. And the answer is this is a $90,000 grant, and it requires, as you've heard, no cash match. So sometimes we get money for specific purposes, and this is a very good one, and I thank staff.
And I just thought I'd go through the list of uses for this money. $50,000 will be used for the final design of the Marsh Run Trail, which will connect City Park all the way to where the stadium is now. And that will include a tunnel underneath the CSX line on Memorial Boulevard there, where the underpass is currently. And what are you laughing at?
This winter, I came through that park with the dog, and I had to go over instead of around.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of snow and brush buildup, and
Yeah.
he twisted me around and yanked me down the hill off of the railroad tracks there, and he's
So you'll be looking forward to using the tunnel?
yeah.
In other words,
It
a
was
lot
either
easier.
I let him take me down or let go of the leash, and I wouldn't let go of the leash.
Well, that
So-
is a really crucial, I guess you could call it the keystone for completing that trail, because it's hitherto been impossible without either going over the railroad or under it. We finally got permission from the railroad to go underneath and do a tunnel, and this grant will, 50,000 of it will go to the final design of that trail. $8,000 for 2 bike boxes and bike detection. I have no idea what that is.
If you're riding a bicycle and you come to the intersection of Prospect Avenue and Pennsylvania Avenue, and there's not a car there, you're never gonna get a green light. These are intersections that have those kinds of loops when a car comes
Gotcha.
over them. Correct, Rodney? That change your light, and when you're on a bicycle, it won't change for you, and they're dangerous intersections when you can't get a green light. So that's what they're for.
Awesome. $23,000 will go toward the Hub City Bike Loop Wayfarer pavement markings, so improvements to the bike loop. And $1,000 will go toward bike racks, storm drain grate replacements, and activities revolving around Bike Month. So that's how that money will be spent, and I just thought I'd put all that out there. Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Grant is approved. Item H is the approval of a sister city affiliation with Xinjiang County, Chengdu, Sichuan, China.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for mayor and council approval of a sister city affiliation with Xinjiang County, Chengdu, Sichuan, China. A sister city relationship with Xinjiang County will provide the opportunity for collaborations in education, tourism, health industry, organic agriculture, and other possibilities.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Brubaker, second by Mr. Metzner. Any discussion?
I have a couple of comments. You know, I know that Mr. Jokin came in and made the presentation, and was obviously opposed to it. You know, during that discussion, I didn't feel compelled to express my reasoning. You know, and so I think the conversation to some degree centered on, you know, some inference or suggestion of to not do so would be an expression of an isolationist attitude toward the proposal. But for me, here's that reality. You know, when that's made, you know, it's under this guise that we're being asked to partner with this entity for cultural purposes, and you know, you think arts and entertainment for educational purposes, and you think schools like Kaplan and the relationship they have, or for economic opportunities. But we're not an arts industry. We're not a school, and we're not a private business, and it isn't being proposed in that manner. We are, like it or not, a governmental body, and we are being asked to partner with another governmental body. The problem that I have, though, is that other governmental body functions, for all intents and purposes, contrary to generally every facet of democracy that we operate under. You need look no further than the fact that it censors free speech. It did it just last week. It banned one of its citizens from ever being able to use the internet again. It disrupts the rights of its citizens to assemble. We deal with that in our own country right now. It disparages against certain religions. It would be formally opposed to virtually every anti-discrimination clause that we write into virtually every one of our documents, than everything we do. So for me, this isn't an issue of isolationism. You know, if that were the case, you know, you could throw any country in this name that I'd have some issue with, and that's just not the case. And so, you know, when I have a gentleman sitting across the table from me saying, you know, I'm insulted, you know, in such a position, I got to tell you that I felt a bit insulted myself in this feeling of being pigeonholed into some isolationist attitude when it has nothing to do with that. It simply has to do with a very adamant feeling of the democratic rule that we hold near and dear and that we defend. So I will be opposed.
Any other discussion?
Well, yes, I'll only repeat that all those are issues, all those are problems. Richard Nixon realized that when many decades ago he decided we ought to recognize China and try to deal with them in that manner. I'll only cite having a long dinner with the representatives from this area, with the mayor, and I think, Dawn, I think you were along that night. And we said, here's the way we do it, you know, and here's the way to do it. And they said, did that get translated right? We said, yeah, here's the way we do whatever it was. And we had it back and forth. And that's the way things happen in this world. So that doesn't mean that we recognize or approve the way they do certain things. You know, I think it's the only way the world changes. So, and that dinner was one example.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no.
No.
The ayes have it, and the motion carries 3-2. The next item on the agenda is approval of engineering consulting services for the wholesale power supply procurement with GDS Associates, Inc.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move that the mayor and city council approve GDS Associates, Inc. for engineering consulting services for the wholesale power supply procurement process. Their services will be utilized for the development and advertising of an RFP for wholesale power procurement and future contractual issues related to the forthcoming wholesale power supply contract.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Munson, seconded by Mr. Metzner. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries, and services are approved. Item K is the approval of an Appalachian Regional Commission FY17 project funding requests.
Mayor, hereby move the mayor and council authorize submission of the following projects to the county commissioners for funding from the fiscal year 2017 Appalachian Regional Commission ARC grant. One, replenishment of city First Third grant program requesting $250,000 in ARC funds. Two, which speaks to some of the things that Kristen was talking about earlier. Two, Phase 2A of the Hagerstown Cultural Trail, requesting $85,000 in ARC funds. Three, Phase 2B of the Hagerstown Cultural Trail, requesting $125,000 in ARC funds.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Brubaker, seconded by Mr. Metzner. Any discussion?
No, I just want to comment, as much as I'm going to have to say yes to this because I have been very open about that First Third grant, and I know that we need that and we need it in place. I know that we've got to be able to do the match, and the money is there for the match. The trail, even though I think that it's a wonderful idea, I think that there has been so many items that have been deferred, and now that we are bonded going in after the money to do this trail, it just upsets me that we couldn't have held off with it. I'm not going to say no to this because that first item is very, very important.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries, and the request is approved. Last item, item L, approval of a trash and recycling receptacle and container policy.
Mr. Mayor, I move the mayor and city council approve the attached trash and recycling receptacle and container placement policy. This policy will guide staff as they assess special circumstances which justify location of receptacles and containers in locations alternative to what is prescribed in proposed amendments to Chapter 117, recycling and refuse collection, and to interpret front yard and side yard for receptacle and container placement. This policy shall take effect on April 22nd, 2016, to coincide with the effective date of amendments to Chapter 117 and Chapter 64-8 Property Maintenance Code related to trash and recycling.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Alshire, second by Mr. Munson. Any discussion?
So the effective date for everything is going to be April the 22nd? Is that when it's going to go into effect? Okay. That's fine. I'll hold that out for all things that are going to ask me.
All right, and all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries and the policy is approved. We are adjourned. Thank you.